Welcome back, Pirates and Eagles. Today's video is going to focus on kitchen and food safety. So some of the topics we're going to talk about are how to prepare your area and yourself, how to set up your tools and your ingredients, cooking tips, and last but not least, safety in the kitchen. Success in the kitchen has a lot to do with paying attention to details. How things are put together are super important. It's not just a matter of reading your ingredient list and throwing things into a bowl. How you combine them is what's really important. So paying attention to details is the key. So the first thing you're going to want to do is clean and wipe down all the surfaces where you're going to be cooking to make sure that everything is freshly cleaned. You're going to want to pull your hair back so your stray hair doesn't end up in the food that you're preparing. And you're going to want to put on your apron so that you don't get food all over your clothes, which is likely to happen. And then the very last thing you want to do to prepare yourself is to take your recipe and review it. Be really familiar with what tools you're going to need to prepare this, and also what ingredients do you have, and just become really familiar with the process that you need to do. One thing to consider is that if you're cooking for yourself and your family, you're good to go. But if you are going to be cooking for friends and or other people during time of COVID, you want to be COVID careful. So if you are preparing food for other people, just be sure to slip on your mask before you prepare the food, because you don't want your air particles, whatever, to be landing on the food. No big deal, just wear a mask and you will be COVID careful. And the last thing you need to do to prepare yourself is to wash your hands. We have all been practicing doing that. You need to wash your hands with running water, soap, for at least 20 seconds. So this is my COVID-friendly outside hand wash system. I'm going to put soap on my hands. I have a pump system to make sure my water is running. I'm going to get really sudsed up here. Remember to go between the fingers. Get your thumbs, tips of your fingers, backs of your hands, and then rinse thoroughly. 20 seconds. You can sing a song. Wheels on the Bus. Mary Had a Little Lamb. You pick your song. And full 20 seconds. And you will be ready to go. The next thing you need to do to get ready is to get out your kitchen tools that you'll need. You've reviewed your recipe, so you know what things you might need. Next, get your ingredients out and have all those set aside, the ones that you'll be needing just for this recipe, and then you'll be ready to go. It's also important to know your tools. 1 cup is different than 1 tablespoon, which is different than 1 teaspoon. So 1 isn't good enough measurement. You need to know 1 what, and getting the correct measurement is super important. The next thing you're going to want to do is review your recipe yet one more time. You're not going to be just adding ingredients as you go down the ingredient list. You need to be very familiar with the directions and the order in which ingredients go together. That really makes a difference. So be sure you understand the process that it's going to take to put your items together, and that will be important for the outcome of your dish. There is a distinction in measuring cups whether you are measuring dry ingredients or whether you're measuring wet ingredients. Some of that has to do with just how easy it is to read this when it's filled with water, and the other is just for ease in your cooking and cleanup. If I were to put, yes, I can use a dry measurement to measure wet ingredients, but if I do that and then I put in some dry ingredients, guess what? My cup is really dirty and I have a lot more work to do to clean that out. Whereas if I use this for wet and this for dry, it makes things a lot more simpler for cleanup. When measuring dry ingredients, certainly you can scoop and make level and use it that way. But if you're going to become a master cook, you're going to want to do this precisely. So you take 1 scoop and you lightly fluff the flour into the correct measurement container, and then use a knife to flatten it, and then that is your 1/2 cup of flour. And the reason you want to be precise is if you do this recipe over and over again, you probably want the same results. So that's the correct way to measure dry ingredients. Another important detail is know when you can improvise and when you need to be precise. For example, if you're putting together an apple crisp, it doesn't matter if you want to put extra fruit in there, or if you don't have brown sugar, you can use honey or white sugar. You can substitute things out pretty quickly and pretty easily. But if you're making something like a cake or bread, baking is usually a very precise chemistry experiment, and so you need to measure very carefully, and you need to be sure all the ingredients are precisely as they are in the recipe. The most important thing we're going to be talking about in today's video is food safety. We will be giving you a little handout on the 4 different categories of food safety that you need to be reminded of. But most importantly, I want to talk about things that can be read. Okay, like the stove top is hot, and so therefore using hot mitts, you can turn them on fire and ruin your hot mitts, hopefully not burn your house down. Ovens are hot as well, so you need to be very respectful for those things. Be mindful of turning them on, be mindful of turning them off. The other thing that is red that you need to worry about is your blood. There are sharp knives, peelers, graters. These are all ways that you can hurt yourself in the kitchen. Even if you don't hurt yourself, who wants to eat a shred of fingernail in their melted cheese? Nobody does. So when you do use a knife, you want to be careful and grip your item like a claw, so all of your finger pieces are in, including your thumb. I've seen some students start to cut with their thumb out and their finger in, so you need to be very mindful. All the way around. So be very mindful, pay attention to details, and make sure when you're cutting there's nothing in its way, because there's nothing worse than having blood all over your kitchen stuff, right? Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see a careless cook. So enjoy your cooking, be safe, and above all, in the end, enjoy your delicious homemade product. Enjoy out there. Look forward to working with you on these cooking classes.